Hi everybody, Carol here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be making 10 cards, 1 kit from this Simon Says stamp card kit. It's the October one, 2018, and I will just very quickly show you the contents and we'll get on to making the cards. There are alcohol inks and they're foiling and stamping and all kinds of things we can do. And that stamp set right there translates into this stamp right here. It's a big stamp cluster of flowers with leaves, and I made it several times for this video, and I'm coloring it with different colors in each one, very similar though. And I don't want to bore you with my coloring, but you get the idea, and you can see I've sped it up. This one I cut out around the flowers. It's the only one that I did that way, and in between, so the background would show through. Now there are very many sentiments in this stamp set, and so I'm stamping off several to have to play with as I go along, see which one I like better. This one I'm going to say hello, and I'm actually going to stamp it onto that white part of the card. But I also wanted to do some extras for backup in case that didn't work out. I could always glue the little rectangle on top of it. So here we go, and good, it worked out just fine and I liked it. Now these are the pieces of the background, and I'm gluing these all down with Tombow Mono Multi Glue, which when it dries it is repositionable, which makes life a lot easier when you can just pull something up and put it back down. So these are the 3 colors of cardstock that came in the kit: the yellow, the kind of brick red, burnt orange, it's a orangey red, and a teal, and I used the piece of pink there from my stash because I wanted to fill in that side, and I had so much pink in the flowers and I thought it complemented the other colors. I'm just again using that repositionable quality of the glue and cutting off the overhang. I had cut one tiny little strip of yellow to go back and put between the 2 darker colors just to give it a little emphasis, and have those all mashed down. And then here come my flowers, and I'm putting the white straight edge on the edge of the whole card. I just think it's very colorful. I had to cut off one set of the leaves because it didn't fit on this particular size card. And now I'm going back and filling in the white space with a closely matching red to that background. And I'm using a couple of different colors to try to make it blend in, and then fill in a little bit of the yellow that shows in the cutouts. So there you have it. I think it's a very pretty color combination. Now card number 2, I'm starting with a white card base. I'm using that beautiful teal that they have, and filling in a lot of the background. I kind of like some of my things to be a little asymmetrical, not just completely lined up, and so leaving a little more space at the bottom than the top. And then here I did the same flower set, but this time I left the majority of it white, but I went back with a copper colored pencil, and you can barely see it in this, but I went around all the edges. There it is, the copper, and went around all the edges of all the flowers, and just made a sketchy line around each and every one. And up close it does actually show up, and I just think it's a very subtle, kind of an elegant look, just to have that hint of color. And then I'm going to put Thinking of You stamp on there, and then also Love You. I was experimenting with the ones, trying to decide which one I wanted to use, and chose that one. So there you can see a little bit of the copper on the flowers. Mounted it on a black frame, you might say, and then put it on top of that. Very pretty card. Could be used for a lot of things. Very pretty because the colors are pretty and the stamp is pretty. So I'm doing this with VersaFine ink, Onyx Black pigment ink. Going to go for the next little set I'm doing with just stamping the leaves. There are leaves and flowers, individual flowers on this stamp set also. And so I'm using some foam mounting tape on the little sentiment here. And you will see the background colors are the yellow that came. Now I used some green, some bright green out of my stash. I stamped the little leaves at random. Five stems, you might say, of leaves, and then cut out, there they are, the stamps, cut out around the overhanging leaves, so just to add a little dimension and interest. Cut the two different flowers out of the red color, and punched a hole punched, I should say, a piece of the yellow to have the center on that flower, and went back with the black marker and just dotted in some dots in the center of that flower. Trying to find it exactly where I want to place these, not that it makes that much difference, just being kind of overly picky. And then use the little sentiment that says hi. And a very simple, this is a much smaller card, but could make it larger just by mounting it over and over. Now, I didn't have time to go into using all of the alcohol inks on the Yupo paper, excuse me. But these are the results. I'm going to make a card by cutting some of that Yupo paper up into little squares. And that's what I cut it off from right there. And made one long strip for the right-hand side and mounted it with black. A black strip just to give a little finishing edge and kind of a classy, elegant look again, the way black can do. And then 4 squares, and I made a basic sketch around where I wanted to place these. And so there are 2, and here comes the third one. Had a little rough edge there I needed to cut off. And then I'm going to, I used a little die out of my stash because I didn't want to cut each one of those leaves out, and so I just thought this matches fairly well, so I kind of cut them apart and had a bigger piece at the top and the bottom, and then 2 little pieces that I cut off for the center square. And now then these are the Yupo, I don't have a hard time with that today, paper that I cut off of that main piece. This, as you can tell, were mostly yellow and orange. There were 3 colors, yellow, orange, and blue. And just trying to show you kind of where I cut it off from. And we'll mount that onto a card base and put some foam tape. Now this is my own personal stamp, thinking of you, just because I thought it fitted so well. So there's that card. Now the next one, I'm going to be using the Yupo paper again, but I wanted a little something at the bottom. You'll see here in a minute. So I did find one of my fallish stamp sets out of my stash and stamped over and over again a bunch of leaves, a cluster of grapes, a couple of acorns. At first I thought about just doing 3 little pieces, 2 leaves, a grape cluster, and then I thought it was just not quite enough, so I went back and used that, and I was going to draw some little cherries, some kind of round fruit just around to fill it out. Green paper for the background, white at the bottom, a strip of their pretty yellow paper. And then I thought, well, I'm going to go back to the one I made and see if I like it better. It's much more than the little 3 pieces, but I decided to go with it. So now there is my alcohol ink drops on the Yupo paper again. I'm going to mount it onto this green background that's just from my stash, and it won't show. And then put it on the top. Put the little cluster of stamps that I used from this stamp set. I wish I could remember the name of it, but anyway, then cut out around them. It was easy cutting. And then put the yellow strip, kind of cutting off the top a little bit. And now you'll see my next step that I've done on mini cards that I have on my YouTube channel. It's just an idea I got from Sandy Genovese years ago, and I really like it. And it's taking a solid sheet of paper and then cutting a bunch of little strips, all different sizes. It doesn't matter. These are pretty close to being a 1/4 inch, but and then putting glue on them and just picking them up and mounting them on that little strip. Now the strips were the same, whether it was an inch or whatever, 3/4 of an inch, whatever it was, and then just cut out the individual little pieces and glue them down. Had to trim that one up a little bit. And go back, I'll probably go back and do some tweaking on this a little bit to be sure they're even. Now I had cut out by hand, stamped and cut out couple of extra little leaves because I wanted some to go up into the stripes and kind of overhang that. And I did another little cluster of grapes, and I'm trying to decide where to put them, and putting them on foam mounting tape and slip them under there just to give some more dimension. Quite a bit of dimension on this card. This is a little busier than most cards I make, but there was just something about it I liked. I was pleased with it, and for something different. It almost looks as if it could be an album cover of some kind. And I decided to use the Thinking of You, but that's what hello looks like, love you looks like, hi. I almost went with the hello, but I thought I kind of like the dimension of the other one. Now this card, I have 3-fold card here, but this is actually called a tri-fold shutter card. And I'm showing you the measurements, but I'll have that again at the very end of the video, a picture of it. You can pause it and look at it as long as you need to. This is a 12-inch piece of paper. And you divide it, and again, you can see the measurements there. And when you fold it, and I'm going around all the edges, all the cut edges, with some neutral ink to give it a nice finished off look. And again, the stamping of the big flower cluster in 3 different ways with black ink on white, and then cut them down. One strip is a little larger than the other 2. That center strip of the card is wider than the outer 2 strips. So I wanted the leaves to be the left-hand end on one side, the flower, and then the leaves again to stagger them. So I'm showing you that once you cut it out, and you can see the measurements there, I went back and scored so that makes the folding easier. And I won't have time to go into all of this. Maybe I can make another video about this particular card and show you how to make it. It's simple, but it does take a little more explanation than I have time for. This video is going to be long enough already. But this, I'm showing you one that I made once before, same principle. It was a pattern paper set that had some little hard cardstock pieces, like the little tabs, and but then the pattern paper, I cut them up and put different pieces of paper on each little section, and then usually they're backed by 2 or 3 pieces of solid paper. Now this was not a 12-inch piece of paper, so I had to splice it on the back, and I spliced it where the fold would be to make it convenient, and it would be covered up on the front. So there are lots of things you can do with these tri-fold shutter cards. Now I decided to just add a finishing touch and a kind of what I call the classic elegant look, the black strip on the edge. I'll go back and cut that off, and then line these little pieces up. I have folded them also and scored them and fold them. And then I wanted to show that I went back to fill in some of the white space with my Millennium pen and made some circles, put some dots in the center just to fill in and make it look a little more complete. So I've glued that on with my Tombow glue. The middle strip I'm leaving on purpose. I'm leaving some yellow edge on either side to give a little bit of a break between the 3 strips. And again, it folds. They fold opposite directions, as you can tell, so it'll pop out one way. on one row and pop out another way on the other row. And it kind of helps to fold it and then put your paper down so it'll fold easily. There it was a little extra on mine. Might not be on yours, so I'm just trimming that off. I'd rather have extra to trim off than to come up short. So, and so that's the way it folds. Nice and easy if you work with it. And then I really kept this card simple. I used the sentiments. Hi, hello, love you. On one side, you could do anything with that you wanted to do. And then on this side, the thinking of you. And there's also a sentiment that says sending you hugs. And I think I originally intended to use that and then forgot my original plan. But there is the card. It's just as cute as it can be and has a lot of interest and looks like an awful lot compared to the relatively easy way it is to make this card. Simple but pretty. Now we're going to get into the foiling. Now I do not have a foiling machine and I didn't want to invest in one at this point, but I've remembered from years ago that people would put foiling paper between wax paper and maybe parchment, I can't remember, and use their iron. So this is an old ironing board. I mean really old. It is a sleeve board. If you ever sewed and you had to make children's clothes like little bitty sleeves, this ironing board was for that, for little things that didn't fit around a big ironing board. If you use an iron, you turn off the steam and you put it on a high heat setting. You wrap that in between the pieces of wax paper. It may be that you're not supposed to move the iron. I set it down first and got it adhered pretty well and then slid it around. It certainly didn't hurt a thing to do that. I couldn't remember how many years ago I'd heard that and if there were instructions on that. But I'm going to pull off the reveal now and separate these pieces of waxed paper. Now I left that iron on there a little longer. Of course, I'm having to speed this up. But, so there's the foil, and we'll see if it works. I'm going to zoom in and show you where you can actually see the words. If I can get the glare off of it, where the words, you can tell the words actually pulled through. I'm trying to point at it there. And so you know that that foil adhered, and the foil goes face up toward you. Now here we go. I'm going to pull it off, and it just did beautifully. These are pretty colors, and you can see the design that is left where the paper is pulled off. You can totally see the design on the paper on the foil. And then there are the words. You can see them very well on this, that they that came off onto the paper. It's so interesting how that works. And so that's the first one. And it says, it is not joy that makes us grateful, it is gratitude that makes us joyful. The main colors were red, gold, orange, a couple of orangey, different shades of orange, and some had a little design. A couple of the papers had little designs to them. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to speed this up and even cut some of it out so you don't have to see the whole thing all the time. So easy with the iron. It's fast. You don't have to wait for it to go through the machine. If you have a machine, I think that's wonderful. But at this point, I don't even have room for anything else to have to store. But I just also just don't know that I would use it that much. So here we go. I'm going to do the reveal. I'm going to peel. Now this time the paper is sticking to the wax. The foil is sticking to the wax paper, and I'm just letting that happen. And I'm peeling it off a little bit at a time so that you can see it. The red, the orange, the gold. Just did a beautiful job. There is always something to be grateful for. The saying on this one. So very pleased with how that ironing trick worked. It has been years since I've done it, if I even did it, or maybe just when I first heard about it. I can't remember. Now this one I had already started, the gold part. You can see the center flower is already done. I was practicing to see if the iron would work. And so then I just added some extra colors for the leaves. One line of the text is in one color, the other line is in another color. Here we go with the reveal. Pull the wax paper apart. This time the foil stayed on, peeling it off. Beautiful red flower, red leaf, gold leaf. Oh, and I'm showing that you can see totally where that leaf came out of the foil paper. The orange, and then the secret to having it all is knowing that you already do. And those are in red and gold. So, such shine and so fun. So I was just very pleased with the way this turned out, and that was super fast. You can give it a try now without having to go buy a machine in order to be able to know what this is like. And if you're going to do a lot, then you might want to invest in a machine and do it that way. So, but just if you're experimenting, the iron's a good idea. Now, I had a really large sheet of paper, and I decided, compared to the others, and I decided to do some corner treatments. So I did the little extra flowers, and well, just the one, the little round flower, and the leaves, and I made a corner design. Then I decided to go back again and put some little bitty circles just to kind of fill in, put a dot in the center of each circle, mounted that onto a piece of black, and I thought you could do this with the happy birthday, happy anniversary. I went back with a white Jelly Roll pen and kind of highlighted those letters. You could write a note and fill in like anniversary dates, birthday dates. You could use it for a picture frame. This is our beloved cat who lived to be 14 and a half, and we loved him so much. And it doesn't fit on this exactly, but you could get your own photo however you wanted to do it. I'm just showing an example. This could actually work as a frame of some sort, or maybe a school memento or something like that. And just simple but very effective. So the happy there is two different colors of cardstock that I stuck one on top of the other. So that was 20 cards, 10 cards very quickly, and I want to just give you a little look at them with some still shots. I really hope you enjoyed the alcohol inks. Were so much fun working with, and that should be another video too, as I just didn't have time to show all of that. I took it very slow, very easy, and it was a very neat process. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And all of the coloring, I think these stamps could make cards for all occasions. So thank you for joining me. I'll have some more videos at the end that you might want to look at. I may post some of these other videos. There are the measurements. Another video of these other cards and the way I made them. I don't know yet. We'll see how that works out. But thank you, and I appreciate you being here, and hope you'll give some of these ideas a try. Bye for now.